Good morning. Welcome to Unity of Dayton. Today is the first day of spring. Glorious spring. Yay! I can't wait. Officially, I think it's 11:33 today, so right in the middle of our service. We can go out and celebrate spring. Okay. We're going to begin this morning and open our service with singing Surely the Presence. If everybody would please stand.
Surely the presence of God is in this place. I can feel God's mighty power and grace. I can feel the brush of angels' wings. I see glory on each face. Surely the presence of God is in this place. Surely the presence of God is in this place.
And now we'll say our mission statement. We welcome all as we create loving community, teach universal truth, practice spiritual principles, and live life abundantly. Now I'm going to invite Nancy to come up and open us with a prayer.
One of us. We had to flip a coin. So let's just take a moment. As we close our eyes, we feel our connection. Oh, it's not so much in the outer, but we're each the offspring of the one. And we know that that one is pure loving essence. So this morning we acknowledge each other's essence as well as our own. That the true of us is spirit, loving spirit. And so for that knowing and for the good that we draw into our lives through our loving presence, we are blessed. And in that blessing we say thank you and amen.
Please be seated. Is there anybody here for the very first time today joining us? Anybody brave enough to raise their hand who's never been here before? Just long enough for the usher to give you a packet of information? Nobody? Okay. Well, welcome everybody to a glorious spring morning. Okay. We have a guest speaker this morning who I'm sure a lot of you are probably already familiar with. It's licensed Unity teacher Nancy Whitton. She has been an elementary and Montessori preschool teacher and a reading tutor. As a licensed Unity teacher, she has served as a Sunday and Wednesday night speaker, youth ed coordinator, prayer chaplain, and instructor. She and George have been married for almost 50 years and have a daughter, son-in-law, and two granddaughters. Her life mission is to use her artistry, insight, and deep reverence for life to teach peace. And we welcome her here this morning. Thank you. Now, if you'll stand again, we're going to sing song Expression.
I am an expression of the Spirit, of the Spirit, of the Spirit, of the Spirit. I am an expression of the Spirit, of the Spirit, of the Spirit, of the Spirit. A beautiful expression of the Spirit, of the Spirit, of the Spirit, of the Spirit. Magnificent expression of the Spirit, of the Spirit, of the Spirit, of the Spirit, a unique, unrepeatable expression of God. 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 I am an expression of Spirit, of Spirit, of Spirit, of Spirit. I am an expression of Spirit, of Spirit, of Spirit, of Spirit. Right time, right place, an expression of the Spirit, of Spirit. I'm fabulous, I got it, an expression of the Spirit, of Spirit. A unique, unrepeatable expression of God. A unique, unrepeatable expression of God. A unique, unrepeatable expression of God. I am an expression of Spirit, of Spirit, of Spirit. I am an expression of Spirit, of Spirit, of Spirit.
Be seated. The daily word for today, Sunday, March 20th, is positivity. I plant seeds of positivity and harvest joy. Every gardener knows that blooms grow best in good soil. Even before planting, it's good practice to pull the weeds and prepare the soil, giving the seeds the optimal conditions to grow. Today, I tend the gardens of my consciousness. I pull the weeds of worrisome and unforgiving thoughts by denying that they have any power over me. I create a fertile environment for new, positive thoughts to grow through regular prayer and meditation. When I touch that place of infinite stillness and peace, I affirm wholeness, prosperity, happiness, and security for my life. Like bright, beautiful flowers, these positive thoughts bloom and grow in my consciousness. Whatever is true, whatever is honorable, whatever is just, whatever is pure, whatever is pleasing, whatever is commendable, think about these things. From Philippians 4:8. And now stand again and we'll sing.
I am here to give and receive love. I am here to give and receive. I am here to give and receive love. I am here.
with our meditation.
When I pray, I feel my heart go deeper, my heart go deeper into my God. When I pray, I feel my heart go deeper, my heart go deeper into my God. Right here, right now, right where I am, I pray. Right here, right now, right where I am, I pray. When I pray, I feel my heart go deeper, my heart go deeper into my God.
So we've already started getting quiet. We calm our bodies and our minds with a few gentle, full breaths. Being mindful of our breathing, we come more fully into this present moment. We consciously invite our bodies and minds to be comfortable, to settle down, to relax. We turn our thinking minds to ideas of God and goodness. I love to use the affirmation, every cell in my body, my being, is filled to overflowing with divine love. Every cell in my body, in my being, is filled to overflowing with divine love. Let's just sense that love as we listen. There is nothing we can look at that is not connected to us. The mere act of seeing an object connects us to it. This holds true for the sounds we hear, the fragrances we smell, and the things that we physically touch. This is just as true for the things that are not on the so-called physical plane. In some mysterious and wondrous way, we are connected to everyone and everything. To feel connected, we must let go of feeling separate. This sense of separation can make us feel disconnected from our good, from our peace, and from what we know of as God. To feel connected, we must consciously practice oneness. Oneness is living as if everything is connected. We know that, and sometimes we're pulled off course. But to do this, we are asked to go beyond appearances to the spirit behind the form. And this brings us to love. Through love, the unconditional love that created all there is, everything is connected. I've come to realize that there is only love. Everything else is just a made-up story based on our fears, judgments, cultural conditioning, life experiences, our need to be right or feel better than, to feel safe. Underneath of all of our made-up stories, there is only love. So let's rest in pure love for a few moments in the silence. We are one with the all good of life. We are one with peace, joy, prosperity, with all of the goodness of God. I am one with you, and you are one with me. We are the love of God, connected to the allness of life itself. And for that I say, thank goodness and amen.
Right here, right now, right where I am, I pray. Right here, right now, right where I am, I pray. When I pray, I feel my heart go deeper, my heart go deeper into my God. We started on this journey, our convictions all in place. But one by one they tumble, each one a gift from grace.
We can change our point of view, and gaze upon the beauty that is me, that is you. We see what we want to see, and what we wish to be. It's just the way we dream it, the key to what we would believe. It's just to know that everything's a miracle when seen through the eyes of love.
Now when we seem divided, and very small. That's when there comes the courage to knock a hole out of this wall.
We take time to find what's true. And now no other looks upon my soul the way you do. We see what we want to see and what we wish to be. It's just the way we dream it, the key to what we would believe. It's just to know that everything's a miracle when seen through the eyes of love.
Simple man becomes a king, child flies on silver wings, a woman now becomes a queen. None of us are what we see.
We see what we want to see and what we wish to be.
Everything is possible.
It's just the way we dream it.
A woman now becomes a queen. None of us are
It's
what
just to
we
know
see.
that everything's a miracle when seen. Everything's a miracle when seen through the eyes of love.
I'd like to thank everyone on music today, because everything that they sang touches on everything that I'm going to say. It's like you've gotten the lesson, you're kind of into it already, and that's a good thing. So I am welcoming you here this morning. It feels really, really good to be here, and also to be in this atmosphere of love. It just makes me realize how much I want that in my life, to just put myself in that atmosphere more and more, instead of in front of the TV or something that feels not as uplifting as this. So I can't tell you how grateful I am to be here, and grateful that you're here to listen to what I have to say. When I prepare for this talk, I focus on those ideas of love and all of that, everything that unity is, and it just feels wonderful. So that was a good thing about being here, and just being here and having someone interested in listening to what I have to say. So thank you. I'm going to speak about a consciousness of oneness, what that looks like, and how we actually live that in our lives. When Morgan asked me to send a little biography about myself, instead of saying something like I'm a licensed Unity teacher, or that next year George and I will have been married 50 years. Who does that anymore? I was going to say something like, I was going to give my spiritual biography. I am a being of goodness. We are all created in the image and likeness of God, absolute good everywhere present. We are all connected to one another by that divine heritage. So underneath all of this stuff that goes on out here, all of the drama and just the everydayness of our lives, we're connected by love to one another. So I think it's kind of important to remember that, to hold that front and center It even was on the sign out in front, something about we're connected in love. And I thought, man, that's what I'm speaking about. But to hold that front and center in our minds as we move through this lesson. Consciousness is the awareness that we exist. It is our awareness of the world around us. It is our viewpoint of life. And that's informed from the time we're born by our parents, by our caretakers, by our relatives. For me, it was by the Catholic Church. Our life experiences informs how we view life and what we make of those experiences. We do that sometimes when we're really little. We say, this is what this experience means, and then we kind of carry that program through our lives, whether it's accurate or not. But all of that informs what our consciousness is. Our state of consciousness determines how we will experience life and how we will respond or react to life in any given moment. And our consciousness is fluid. And by that I mean it can be changing, it can be evolving. We're evolving into, this is what I believe, a greater consciousness of love, because we have to. It's like imperative that we evolve into this consciousness of love, of unity and of oneness. And unity refers to that consciousness as the Christ consciousness, the consciousness of pure, unconditional love. It's also referred to sometimes as superconsciousness. Our superconscious mind is the mind that's connected to the mind of God. So we can change our minds, and I say thank goodness that we can do that. And here's a little story. It actually could be a practice that we could use, and it kind of touched my heart. It was in Science of Mind magazine, and I somehow remembered it. It's about changing our minds. And this woman wrote, when I was about 6 years old, my mother told me on a day when she was in a bad mood that she didn't like how I looked. Being a child, I was devoted to my mother, so I took this truth as truth about myself. I maintained that thought well into adulthood. 6, well into adulthood, she acted like there was something wrong with how she looked. I created an agreement with myself in my mind based on my child's perception of my mother's comment on a bad day. When my daughter was born, people said she looked like me. I saw she was beautiful, and to be the best mother I could be, I had to make a new agreement with myself, to adopt a new truth. I released the notion that I was ugly. My daughter's beauty gave me a new mirror, and I forgave myself and my mother. Today, I live in the truth of my spirit. We're talking about spiritual truth here. And know that beauty is mine in body and in circumstance. So we can change our minds. And it could be helpful to do that, especially if we're thinking some thought about ourselves or someone else that is maybe less than kind or less than the full-blown love that we can actually have toward ourselves and them. We can also use the mind of goodness in us to help us make decisions. Did anyone ever ask you to do something and you said something like, because you didn't know what you were going to do about it, like, well, I have to pray about that? That's a good thing. We're asking our oneness with goodness, with God, to inform our choices, to inform the decisions that we make. So that can be a good thing too. And another thing we can do is be curious instead of being know-it-alls. And I'm a know-it-all. So I know what this is about. We can be curious and we can invite new ideas, divine ideas, into our lives, and we can adopt them into our experiences of who we are and how we behave in the world. A consciousness of oneness expressing is where we step out of separation thinking because we know, because of our divine connection, if we hurt someone, we hurt ourselves. If we help someone or something, we help ourselves. That's as simple as I can put it. When we know that we're connected, we get that if we hurt someone or something, we do that to ourselves. And if we cherish someone or love them or whatever, give them something good, we give that good to ourselves. We're in the consciousness of oneness when vengeance gives way to forgiveness, when hatred gives way to reconciliation, when blame gives way to compassion, when judgment gives way to understanding, when punishment gives way to learning life skills, and when rivalry turns into cooperation and suspicion into laughter. Now, that's a process. That's a process, and it doesn't just happen automatically. It happens over our lifetime. In the beginning, I said we're moving into a greater consciousness of love, one step at a time. Sometimes it happens a little faster than that for some of us, but usually it's just this one step at a time process where that's our intention. That's our intention to move into greater love. Now, oneness is capable of expressing in us because we are love. We heard that in every song this morning. And love transcends. It transcends our separation, our differences. The love that we are transcends duality and leads us into an experience of inclusion, of greater love, peace, joy, whatever we're looking for that we call good is there when we know our divine connection. So how do we nurture a connection of oneness, of love that reflects the love, the divine love that we are? How do we nurture a consciousness that allows that light of love to shine through us, and for others? Well, for me, it means moving away from separation thinking, actions and activities. You know, those ones that feel kind of draining and depressing and kind of awful, moving out of that, catching ourselves when we find ourselves there and moving away from that. And moving toward thinking, actions, and activities that feel life-giving and energizing, just like I'm experiencing here. Move toward those things, and you'll naturally move away from the things that feel separating from your God, yourself from your God, and from others, and from situations. So I have a few spiritual practices. We all know all of these, but I always like to be remembered sometimes. So they can help us bring that energy of awakened consciousness into moments in our lives. I'm not going to say every moment, but into some moments of our lives. And that makes life feel, I don't know, wonderful and joyous, even if it's just that moment that I can remember or experience. So the first practice is pure unity. One of the main ways to move away from error thinking, which is being separate, feeling separate from anything unlike love, and towards spiritual truth, is through denials and affirmations. Denial is the letting go part. Just like in that story, that woman had to let go of the notion that she was ugly. And she had to forgive herself and her mom for believing that, and her mom for saying that. So the denial is the letting go part, and the affirmation is the letting God part. In the story again, she remembered her true beauty. And she affirmed that in herself, in her body, and in her circumstances. Along those lines of affirmation and denial, I always think of the daily word, because that's what that's all about, affirming spiritual truth and letting go of thoughts that aren't. I think of Science of Mind. That's another one of my favorite magazines, or any kind of spiritual reading or any kind of a spiritual practice. Coming to church is the same thing. We're focusing on God and on goodness, and we're turning our backs on other things that are more, downers, I guess I would say. One of the spiritual practices that I use is when I read those daily words in Science of Mind, I underline little sentences that kind of really touch my heart. And then at the end of the day, if I have enough of them, I might do that for a while, and then after a few days, I'll write those all down. And then my favorite ones, I can go back and read them. It's just a simple little practice that is really something I like to do. So that's just some things that we can do with moving away from separation thinking and moving back into oneness, back into love, whether it's with ourselves, others, or with our connection to spirit. Another practice is being present. We become one with the present moment. Being present means placing our full attention on this now moment. And that means freeing up energy that we use in thinking about regrets of the past, or, oh, I should have done that, I didn't do that, or that kind of stuff, or fear in the future. And I have to say, I find myself doing that. Fear in the future, especially with what's going on out in the world today, and regrets of the past sometimes are things that I didn't do, I wish I would have. And we free up, they're just figments of our imagination. They're not real. Future, they're not happening now in reality. They're somewhere in our mind floating around, and I call them figments of our imagination. And we can move past all of that and bring ourselves in the present moment. It frees up a lot of that energy that we're using to kind of envision a fearful future or thinking about regrets of the past. We're using up energy by doing that for things that we really say we want to be doing, or I say I want to be doing, like creating meaningful relationships, being there right with somebody, finding solutions to things, being helpful, for just enjoyment. We're out there in this la-la land of feeling bad, or for healing. We need that energy for healing in this present moment. Martha Beck says, we must pull our minds away from situations that exist only in our hopes and fears. And I'm not saying never go there, because we will, but she's saying let's try to put ourselves right here and right now and rivet our attention on the present moment. Then we do something so simple it sounds almost nonsensical. We trust this moment to stay here and not be distracting ourselves over here or there. It means being present and trusting what's going on right here and right now. We trust that everything is all right just as it is. By dropping resistance to what is happening right now, we have the energy and wisdom needed to cope with whatever we're facing. Now, to trust the moment, that's a tall order for me sometimes, and one that I can allow for myself when I remember God and my connection to God, my source. When I remember that connection to God, then I can trust that all is well. Being present can support us in bringing the energy of awareness, that energy of awakened consciousness, the consciousness of oneness, into every moment of our lives. Another practice that I have is not knowing. That's a good one for me because, again, I'm a know-it-all. Or I like to think that I am. I used to have a little puppet when I taught preschool, and he was called Mr. Know-It-All, and he would teach the kids everything about the school, but I was really Mr. Know-It-All. So how many times have I imagined scary scenarios about what might happen in the future? How many times have I done that? But most of the time, the truth is, I really don't know how things are going to turn out, how they're going to unfold. I don't know. And so sometimes I'll go, honey, you just don't know how that's going to turn out because we're still making it up. It's not here yet. We're making it all up, so we don't really know how it's going to turn out. Now, not knowing can open up in us a deep place of innocence and humility. At least it does that for me. It means giving up the emotional need for certainty. It looks like open-mindedness and interest, which actually enables us to see more clearly past our, know-it-all boundaries. We can see more clearly when we give that up, and maybe see something that we never saw before when we're curious and interested instead of knowing it all. And I know when I keep my mouth shut about trying to tell somebody how much I know, it always makes it better for the relationship and for what comes out of that experience. So another practice that I have for oneness is one that has to do with fear. And fear is, for me, when I start feeling afraid, I feel separate. And sometimes I even build walls. There are walls that I'm building to try to protect myself, but it still is a separating activity. Back in November, I had COVID pretty bad, and my daughter came down from Ann Arbor to take care of me, and George did too. And anyway, my daughter recommended that I had a lot of fears going on because I was very, very sick for a long time. And my daughter had me, she said, Mom, get a little box and make it I trust in God box. And so whenever I would feel afraid, like, am I going to ever get better? Am I going to die? All of that came up. She said, just put it on a little piece of paper and put it in your trust in God box. And this for me was another letting go practice, and then practicing trusting in God. And I wish I could have a little box for each of you who wanted one to put your fears, your concerns, your worries, put them in the box. It's a sign to the universe that you're willing to take a step to let go of those things, and then start putting your trust in God, in goodness that we are. And that brings you back to connection with God, your source. The fear takes you out of it. So I think we first have to feel that oneness for ourselves and our connection with God, and then we can do that for others. So that box was, and I probably put something in it just last week. Like I haven't stopped using it. Whenever I get fearful, I do that and let go and let God. And then the last practice, I think this is the last one, is to feel our feelings safely and in healthy ways. If we take the responsibility for our own feelings, we don't have to project them onto others. And that's what we do a lot of the time. I think it's because we're human beings. We don't like to take that for ourselves, but we're okay giving it out to somebody else. So this is a little story that I experienced just a few weeks ago, and reminded me again about projecting my feelings onto others. And I was on the telephone with my sister Marcia, and George was on the line too. We're all talking together, and we were talking about getting together for some event. I don't remember what it was, but once we figured things out, George innocently said, and we're on the phone, I'm on the phone, my sister's on the phone, George is on the phone. He said, well, you might want to tell that to your sister Pat, your other sister. And I said in a very aggravated and rude tone, I already did that. As if George was some, yeah, I know. As if George was some kind of a dodo. Well, we all said goodbye real quickly. And I thought about what I had said and why. And at the time of the call, I was sitting in front of the TV, probably watching something that felt depressing, like, Law and Order. And I had a big bag of chips on my lap, just eating mindlessly. And I thought, I'm mad at myself, not at him, but I projected that on, I'm mad at him for saying that silly thing. So I did sincerely apologize to George. And I had a call at my sister. I wanted to clear things up with her. And I was reminded of this line in a poem by Thich Nhat Hanh. And it said, I take care of the garbage in me so that you don't have to suffer. And when we take care of our own feelings and what's going on in us, we don't have to project them onto others. That's a very separating activity to do, to project. And we do it, we don't even know we're doing it most of the time. At least we have to bring that awareness, that conscious awareness into the present moment, and then we'll get it. So deal with our feelings in healthy ways. That was one of the things that I got out of that. And the other thing that happened was I felt compassion rising for myself. So instead of self-hatred for, saying that in a rude tone, I'm getting better at loving myself, even when I feel like I'm failing. And that, again, takes me back into oneness with God, my good. I'd like to end this talk with a little meditation. It's just a simple one. It's very short. So let's kind of just get ready for that. And we can do this so quickly. Just intend to get comfortable and go within. And imagine a beautiful altar made of light right before you. So you're going to go up to that altar and leave all that you no longer need or want on it, or just one little thing that you no longer want. We can make this simple. That's right. Today is the day to let go and let God. Just put whatever you want to on that altar. It could be pain or guilt or something you no longer need or want in your life, or just one little thing. And then watch the altar of light absorb all of that, all of the stuff that you put on it. Watch it become light. Now look down and see a shallow pool of beautiful divine light at your feet. Step in it and let the light fill you up. Let it fill all the space that once held the stuff you left behind. When you feel complete, step out of the pool of light and return your body to this room where you have been meditating. Let yourself be renewed as you know. The past has no hold on me. Every moment I am new. I feel my goodness and I sense the goodness of God in me, in you, and in everything. And then let us go forth and live our lives by these insights. Amen. So I'd like to end with just a little quote. I did make while I was preparing, I ran across a lot of quotes that didn't get into the talk. But there's one here that says, an ounce of practice is worth more than a ton of preaching. So Maybe you would like to take one of those practices, like changing your mind about some story that you had about yourself, or not knowing, or being present, or anything like that. Or this little altar. I did this altar thing, seeing myself drop off stuff last night. I had a sore tooth. I thought, oh, am I going to be able to speak? So I just put that on this altar of light and saw it go into the light. And then I came back and filled myself up in this tooth with light. I'll go to the dentist tomorrow. But in the meantime, those kind of things can help us through that, and it did. I felt much more comfortable after I had done that. So you might want to take any little practice here and just extend it into your week and see how that turns out. And I have no doubt when we do these kind of things, whatever they are, reading the daily word or whatever, it brings us more peace, more happiness, more love, and a feeling of unity and connection with ourselves, each other, and the world. So again, I thank you for being here and for listening and for remembering with me who we really are. Thank you.
Thank you, Nancy. Now, as the ushers come forward, we're going to prepare our offerings in support of this ministry. If you'll take your offerings out and hold them in your hand. Say our offering blessing. Divine love, through me, blesses and multiplies all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive.
Gratitude before me, gratitude behind me, gratitude to the left of me, gratitude to the right of me, gratitude above me, gratitude below me, gratitude within me, gratitude all around me. I'm so grateful, 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 I'm so grateful.
As the ushers bring the offerings forward, Nancy, would you be willing to bless the offerings? You can just meet them at the aisle.
Loving God, we give thanks for these gifts of love. They were given in love to go out in the world to do the work of love. And so we thank each and every person for their generosity, each and every person for their expression of loving kindness. I also want to say just a very short prayer for someone in need. There are many, many people in need, many of us in need of our prayers and our love. And so just right now, we make an intention to send those needing it the love of God that we have. We just see it radiating out from us to those in need. For the opportunity to love, for the opportunity to receive love, we say thank you and amen.
Amen. Thank you. We have many opportunities for transformational opportunities with the announcements today. Next Sunday, March 27th, our Board of Trustees is having an installment ceremony during the service where Jerry Gungold and Gary Victor, who were elected during the annual meeting on March 6th, will be installed as committed board members serving full terms. So please be here to celebrate with them next Sunday. The Sacred Women's Group meets in person on Wednesdays from 10:30 a.m. until noon. Women of Unity are invited to join Colleen Foster for like-minded conversation and connections, and maybe even a little bit of arts and crafts sometimes. They do some really cool stuff on their Wednesday group. And then on each second Wednesday of the month at 6 p.m., please join us for sacred drumming here at Unity of Dayton. Bring your drum, your rattle, your noisemakers, raise your spirit with like-minded friends. There's no cost for this, though love offerings are always appreciated. Our next drumming circle will be on Wednesday, April 13th at 6 o'clock. Getting a really big group for this too. It's really a marvelous, marvelous experience if you haven't tried it. Dan Studebaker is still doing his study group online through Zoom on the first and third Wednesday of each month from 7 to 9 p.m. in exploring ascension energies, shifting into the fifth dimension. If you're interested in joining Dan, you can get his email off of the newsletter, or you can call the office to get his email and contact him about it. I'm so excited about this one. The Reiki Healing Circle is coming back. Yes, it will now be held on the first Sunday of each month following the celebration service at 12:30 p.m. The next circle will be on April 3rd. If you're interested, they want an email to the office if you're interested. I think you can just sign up. Yeah, that day if you're here, we just have a little sign-up sheet so we know how many people are attending. You don't really have to let us know ahead of time. And we also have room on the prayer team. If you'd like to join our prayer team in an activity, actually it's a really marvelous experience, to cross out fear-based thoughts and to invite love to express in, through, and as us. Through the practice of release and renewal, we prepare ourselves for the resurrection. The family-friendly service will be held on Good Friday, April 15th at 7 o'clock p.m. Okay, so I plan to be here for that too. That is all of our transformational opportunities for right now. And we're going to bid goodbye to our wonderful people out in internet land. And we remind you, you are the light of the world. And now I invite everybody